I didn't step into visibility. I was born into it. Hi, I'm Steve Kidd. I've spent, more than 4 decades inside sales, marketing, publishing, media, all those kind of things, helping people with real depth, that are really true people become visible in the ways that actually work. I've worked with over 5,000 people, specifically authors, becoming best selling authors, have that incredible 100% success rate. Personally, I'm actually a 40-time #1 international best-selling author myself. But here's the thing. Bestseller was never the point of any of it. It is a starting point. What I do is I help people understand why visibility works. I want you to know and understand it today. And when it does, then it makes all the difference. I can show you why it doesn't, and when and how and where it should. You see, I've lived my whole life knowing how attention moves, how trust forms and transforms. And that's where it allows a signal to break through, or when it isn't happening, where the signal breaks down. I know you've done the work. And I know there are times when you feel like the world's best kept secret. You feel unseen, unheard, unknown. And the result of that may be that you're not getting paid. And I'm here to help you understand it, to show you what's going on, and to help explain it clearly so that you have a solution that isn't just kind of a concept, but really truly works. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Mostly, we're just going to hang out today. It is my 59th birthday, for those of you who didn't know. If you happen to watch me live yesterday, then I guess my question for you is, hey, do I look older? How about wiser? Do I look like somebody who has spent 59 years in media? And you can tell me that I look younger than that. I really like it when people do that. Feels good. I know for those of you who have ever had that said to you, you understand that it feels really great when people go, oh, wow, you don't look that old. I'm like, oh, thanks. I will totally take that. Absolutely, completely, 100%. I put a post out. In fact, I was a lot of minutes late. I was about 10 or 15 minutes late starting our live today because I was putting out a post celebrating the concept that the press release that just went out on me has literally spanned the globe. It was cool. I got distracted, honestly, looking at just some of the places that it's been seen. It was interesting. There are a ton of places in Oregon. I lived in Oregon for, 25 years or so. And there's a bunch of places in Hillsboro and other places around Washington County, which is mostly where I lived the whole time, that that picked up the article, and that was really cool. It's just kind of like a blast from the past kind of a situation. But then I saw places like New York and Los Angeles and San Diego. I still kind of miss San Diego. I don't miss California's politics or the taxes, or the fact that rent cost me more to live there for a year than my entire house cost me. But I do miss the weather. And there's a lot of things that I really absolutely loved about San Diego County, especially Fallbrook. Great little town. I absolutely loved it. But then there were other places that it went as well. I saw it I saw an article that went out in South Africa and in London and in several other places around the world. I posted in the post the one. I thought it was kind of cool that I had made the newspaper in Hawaii. Just really interesting, fun, and exciting kind of things. We got some people that have jumped on here. Let's say some highs. Hey, Molly, how are you? Glad to have you here with us. Pajama, that's a cool name. Farmer, glad to have you. Briex, Briex, something like that. Glad you're here. I look like 20. Wow, I will totally take that. Nathan, thanks for joining us. All of you, I'm just so grateful to have you here with us. And here's the thing, all right? I've adopted this phrase. I really loved it. It came to me a few days ago, and it was a real breakthrough for me in my life. I mean, I was literally, not figuratively, not, when we use the word literally and we mean figuratively or kind of, sort of, or those kind of things, but I was literally born into media. And let me explain. For those of you that haven't figured it out yet, it is New Year's Day. Mewin, glad to have you here with us too. And Sunday's here. That's really great. I'm just so glad to have all of you here with us. I was born on New Year's Day. I was born in Mitchell, South Dakota, which is, another one of those definitions of the middle of nowhere. But it is the home of the Corn Palace, which is amazingly beautiful on the outside and really disappointing when you go inside of it. But shout out to Mitchell, South Dakota and the Corn Palace. I was not the first. I was born at about 1:20 a.m., but I was not even the first child that was born in Mitchell, South Dakota. Okay, Mitchell, South Dakota is not a huge town, in case some of you weren't aware. Okay. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. Any of the rest of you, if you can like and subscribe this, share it with your friends. Let people know, see, and understand what it means to be born in the media. And, you can help me celebrate my birthday by subscribing and getting other people to join too. That's cool. I absolutely, totally dig that. So I wasn't the first baby. Abigail, hey, glad to have you here with us. I wasn't the first baby born even in Mitchell, South Dakota, but I was the first baby born in our hospital. And for whatever reason, the other child that was born got gifts and things like that, but the news came and took my picture. That's because I'm so beautiful. I actually was a really cute kid. I've had people say to me before that I should have been the Gerber baby. It was one of those kind of situations. Anyway, the media was from literally the moment of my birth seeking me out. It can create some interesting things in you where, you can have delusions of grandeur and want to be a jukebox hero and all those kind of things. But the more grounded and real concept of it is, I've been doing this literally for a lifetime. Selling since I was 5, started a company of my own at 20 years old, which is why I typically quote that, the company is, I actually technically started it at 19, which is why February next month will be our 40-year anniversary for the company. Just all those kind of things, because I knew I had spent my entire growing up years, my childhood years, doing things in media. My dad was a pastor, so I was on stage, singing, performing, doing all those kind of things, very comfortable with it. Just really expressing and exercising all of the things that it takes to be visible. Because ultimately, more than anything else, if you want to be visible, what you got to do is be visible. You got to be seen in front of the people. It's one of the reasons why I had the press release go out today on my birthday, is because, I want to be seen. I want to step up, step out, show you. I want to not just be one of those people who tells you about something that they've heard about, or that other people are teaching, or, it works really well for them. But when you get to know behind the scenes, you also find out that their spouse has a really great job and spent a lot of money on ads to build the following that they've had. And you can totally do that. And if you happen to have the deep enough pockets, absolutely. Everything's time versus money. You can either spend your time building your following, or you can spend the money to have people who that's what their skill set is, that's what their expertise is, that can build that following for you. At the end of the day, though, it's going to still take the connection. The 3 C's: clarity, consistency, connection. And the connection, you got to connect with real human beings. AI cannot do that for you. AI, with all of the cool stuff I could say about AI and how much I dig it, I really do love the AI. But, AI cannot be you. AI cannot replace you. It cannot do the things that you need to do. And AI can write the posts that will allow humans to be interested in connecting in you, but AI can't connect for you. You've got to be the human to human connection. You've got to show up at the networking events. You've got to reply to the posts. Sure, there's a ton of things that will allow you the capability to automate some responses and things like that. And the more you automate it, the more that you're going to run into a situation where people are going to know that it's an auto response. At some point, you've got to step in. Now, yes, you can hire and train people who can be physical human beings, who can you can even, and one of the great uses for AI is you can have them really, really learn your voice, but they can only learn your voice when you have your voice out there enough that it can glean enough information that it can be like, oh yeah, hey, this is exactly how this person would say it. When I was training my chat GPT for the voice, custom GPT that I created, that I basically give to the people that are working for and with me when they want to write something the way that I would write it. That's really what it's more for. I don't need to know how to write for me. Okay. I can write for me. Now, I've been able to use that effectively to be able to do speaking like what I'm doing right now, a little bit more directed. This is kind of just verbal diarrhea today on purpose because I'm just celebrating my birthday. But I can, because I've interviewed so many people, both, now the radio show is 11 years old, as well as the 5,000-ish people I've helped with their books, all those kind of things. I've done enough interviews that I understand. And I, more than anything, I understand what the system and the process is. Basically, because I'm a big geek, I went out and I did all the research of what are the fundamental structures of. I had a friend of mine that, kind of pushed back. It's like, that is some kind of formulaic system, systematized book. And I'm like, well, all books ultimately are. Because, and here's the thing, I'll tell you right now, okay? If you want to write your book, the first thing you need to do is create the engagement. You got to get the people bought into the book. Doesn't matter whether you're talking fiction or nonfiction, okay? You've got to have that know, like, and trust factor first. You've got to bring them in. You've got to give them the why. Who are you? What are you? What are you going to give to them? Why should they care that you're saying it? Okay. I'll give you a perfect example of somebody who is really, really great at it in the audiobook. Okay. The written book has done really well. So don't, because Mike has a great style anyway. But if you really want to see somebody that really just embraces their readers, Mike McCallowitz, the book Profit First, he has several others as well. Mike is amazing. And you got to get Mike's books in audio because Mike is hilarious. And Mike will say, while you work on this thing, I'm going to go have margaritas. Right in the audiobook. Love that about it. It's one of the reasons why I always, and my first and probably always top of the list, most favorite author is C.S. Lewis. Because fiction or nonfiction, C.S. Lewis, we would call it, if you're familiar with the phrase, we would call it the fourth wall break. But he always remembered and acknowledged and would talk directly to the reader. This is the point, oh reader, where if you've gotten this far, I love how then Terry Brooks adopted it. Terry Brooks wrote the book that was or became the screenplay for the movie Hook with Robin Williams. And the last chapter, before he starts the last chapter, he says, if you haven't gotten and understood everything that I've been talking about in this book, you could go ahead and just stop it now. We've come to the end of the story. But if you understand what we're talking about, this is the part you've been looking forward to, and let's move on. And then he went into, and that's essentially, if you've seen the movie, that's essentially where, Peter wakes up, and it's the clinking, the Tinkerbell, it's the clinking of cans or bottles, I guess it is, and then he has to get back up into the balcony and, get into the house, and that last scene of the movie Hook, which I think me telling you that if you haven't seen it does not destroy the movie at all, because like I said, it's kind of an epilogue. It's kind of if you've gotten it, then you really are going to want to read this. And if you haven't gotten it, you could just skip it because it's not going to make any difference by this point. That is connection at its finest. Because then while we're writing the book, while the person's reading the book, every once in a while we just reach out to them and go, hey, my book that I just re-released, my first, originally the 1.0 version of it is my 20th book, and it became my 40th book because it's a complete rewrite. It's the same name. It's got a different subheading, in fact, but it's the same name of the book, but everything else in it is pretty well updated, refreshed, and much more on point for you. Is my book Bestsellers Only the Beginning? And I intentionally gamified that one. There's QR codes, there's links, there's little journaling projects you can do in there. There's, all kinds of stuff. And at some point, I want to take it to the next level. I've got some friends of mine that are really great gamification, game creation people, and I want them to take it beyond what I could do and really make the interactive game part of it really cool. But, I think it works for now because I want you to feel engaged with. I want you to know, like, and trust me. That's where your book fits in the whole thing. Your book is an opportunity to have one, if it's a really short book, 2 to 20, or maybe even 100 if it's a really long book, interactions with a person to build the know, the like, and the trust of you. Because ultimately, say, for example, I'll use Terry Brooks again as an example. Say you're reading Shannara, one of those Shannara books, or all of the series, or you're quoting a C.S. Lewis book, you're reading Chronicles of Narnia, any or all 7 of them. Whether you just read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or you read all 7 of the books in the Chronicles of Narnia. The more you read it, the more that you are engaging with the author, really. It's really the characters that have brought you in, and you're like, really interested in them, and they impact you. And both of those books are perfect examples because the main characters change. Some people come back, some people don't, and it changes throughout, but you want to know what's going to happen next in this world that exists really only in the mind of the author, but it's come to life inside of your brain. You find yourself seeing and feeling and imagining. You maybe even fall in love with the main lead girl character, or maybe not. Maybe it's somebody else in there. You find yourself laughing at a Puddle Glum and how absolutely grumpy he is. And yet, in the darkest moment of the book, The Silver Chair, again, one of the Chronicles of Narnia, it's book 4, for those of you who are, really want to check up on me. Puddle Glum, when everything is the most gloomy, and when the person who always sees the dark side, always sees the down, and is just the ultimate version of negative, in that moment, he steps up. And, and it lives inside of your heart. That's what our books do. You see, your book isn't just a business card. It isn't just like, I've got a piece of paper. This isn't a book, but, I got a piece of paper here that came in the mail, that's some kind of something to fill out or whatever, or just, something that I haven't thrown away yet. Business cards and junk mail and stuff like that, that's what happens. You're not, even though the utility company sends you a bill electronically or physically every month, and no matter how many times you pay them, no matter how many months in a row you pay them, they send you another bill next month, right? But that's not them creating know, like, and trust with you. You don't know, probably. I mean, if it's a little local utility company like our internet service provider here in town, the one guy that comes out, because I think he's really literally the only technician for our area, because I live in a town of 400. I'm sure his area is bigger but he's probably the only person who services our area. And the probability is that he probably lives here because we have an office for the internet service provider here in our town, because it actually started here in our little tiny town back in the days of dial-up, because him and his buddies, the owner and his buddies wanted, internet access. And it just grew from there. I know, totally, the rabbit trail had nothing to do with the rest of the story. I apologize. But I mean, for the most part, we neither know, like, or trust our utility company. We're just kind of stuck. There's one place you can get electricity from. Sure, you could put in, solar panels or, other alternative energy sources to your house. I mean, with the best of the solar systems, you're still going to want to have at least electricity for backup for, like when the sun goes down. No, I mean, yeah, you can get Tesla wall and you can store it up, and, if the power doesn't go out for more than, a few hours or a couple of days at the most, you can be okay. If not, you're going to need some kind of a generator. All of those kind of situations are not building know, like, and trust. They're just kind of captivity in a way. But our book in print in a person's hands, where they can, do like my book, Magnetized Media, the book that Willie and I did together. Magnetized Media. You can pick it up, you can read it, you can thumb through it, and you can get to the place where it says, write in one sentence. Write in one sentence what you'd say to produce or host the show that you want to be on, and why your message matters. Just one of the, action statements that, Willie and I put in that book to kind of gamify it too, and to kind of move you through. We're building know, like, and trust. We're building not just casual acquaintances, not quote unquote friends or followers like social media has us do, but we're building true fans. I love how Seth Godin said it. He said, better to have 10, I think he actually said 100 real followers, real fans. Raving fans is actually the word he used. Better to have 100 raving fans than 10,000 people who could care less. And social media has proven that to us, because you can be, I mean, if you look at my Facebook, I think there's right near the 5,000 cap limit. And then, because it's a business account now, the whatever of the other people. My LinkedIn has about 10,000, more than 10,000 people on it now. And so on and so on. I mean, you can go the other way and you can look at my, I've got 2 YouTube accounts. One of them has like 100 people on it, and the other one has less than that because it's newer. Well, it's been being used newer. It's actually older, but, I never did anything with it. But that is the beginning of a relationship. You putting your book out, you making your book a bestseller. That's day one. That's the start. Visibility, this thing that I've spent my whole entire life doing, being visible and valuable, it's about relationship. It's about investing yourself in people and being invested in them. That's why my book, How Can I Help You Today, talks about radical generosity, giving without any thought of what's in it for you. Not, I'm going to give this to this person and then they're going to owe me or they're going to do this thing for me, but rather just giving because it's who you are. I struggled with this one for a really long time. In fact, I wrote the book, How Can I Help You Today? And it took me more than a year to put it out because, number one, the world challenged me. It's like, okay, you want to be radically generous? Let's prove it. Let's have a whole bunch of people that are going to come running into your life, asking for stuff for free, expecting everything from you and having no interest in reciprocity. But that was because, and here's the brutal truth, that was because of the energy I was putting out in the world. It wasn't on them. You see, growing up as a pastor's kid and then later a minister, there's a real fallacy that we have in the church, that ministry and life in general is all about giving with, and again, it kind of shows up in the way that I say radical generosity, but it isn't that. It isn't the giving with no thoughts of what's in it for you. It's giving as a false humility, a self-abuse kind of a situation. It's supposed to be radical generosity. It's supposed to be given, it will be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. To quote a Bible verse at you. Okay? That's what the Bible says about it. We've turned it into give until it hurts. Give until you have nothing of yourself left. And there's no and then what after that. And you end up with a whole lot of people in ministry and in church and in stuff like that. A whole lot of people that really just, really just aren't interested in church or God or those kind of things because of that totally false narrative. I heard somebody say the other day, it's like, I love Jesus, but I don't consider myself a Christian at all. I don't use that phrase. Interesting. The early church actually called themselves the followers of the way. They never used the word Christian. That's something that comes on many, many years. In fact, probably hundreds of years later. Somebody can check me on that. You can go to ChatGPT and say, when was the first use of the phrase Christian? Okay. Visibility and radical generosity come together so well because radical generosity is about your heartbeat. It is the heart and soul and core of connection. You connect with people because you really, truly care. You give to people because you want the best for them. I can tell you from experience, I did my first selling at 5, literally, door to door, selling holiday cards and, greeting cards and holiday napkins. Going to houses that my older brother tells me, he literally told me, don't go there. We've already been there and they said no. And coming out with a sale, 5 years old, the power of cuteness. You don't have to know any sales tactics. You just, go in and be cute. All right. At some point you have to learn sales skills. But for me, what I discovered, and it took me years, like literally decades to really understand that. And it's just been recently that I've really understood that the reason why I was always so good at sales and even better at sales training and at recruiting in sales is because I led with a genuine care for the people. I was genuinely interested in them. And from that, they can tell. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can get somebody to do just about anything if they understand why. Those are both quotes from Lily Anderson Brown. I don't know if her last name is Brown anymore or not. I don't know what the situation after the whole legal trouble and everything. But I mean, Lily and I were a great team, and she taught me some amazing things. And those two phrases are the heart and soul and core of her management style. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You want to radically change the way you manage people. Take this concept, and it's totally Lily's, all right? I'm not as good at it as she was, but take this concept of the fish stinks from the head down. So any issue, any problem that comes to your desk, just own it. Take total responsibility for it. It totally diffuses the situation when you sit down with the person and say, I just want you to know the fish stinks from the head down. So whatever the problem is, I take full responsibility for it. I apologize for whatever caused the situation, and I'd like to now move from needing to assign blame to figuring out what we need to do to solve this thing. I take full responsibility for it. See, this isn't that self-aggrandizing or that demeaning yourself thing that I was talking about earlier about the church. This is that leadership quality that we lead people, we manage things. Real leaders lead from the front. Real leaders are the ones who want to be the first one to get shot at. They would rather see them take all of the bullets and their people live than to hide behind their people and watch them die. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Great book to learn about ownership is QBQ by John Miller. Thanks for a Happy New Year to you too, Michael. And thanks so much for being here with us. You see, visibility is that thing. It's about that ownership. It's about that leadership. It's about doing the things in this world that only you can do and showing up in that day called today. It's not about being louder. You can yell and scream and light yourself on fire. I mean, I actually do like the old phrase, light yourself on fire and let the world watch you burn. I think it's a fun phrase. But the truth of the matter is that if you don't have the visibility and the following, and if you don't light yourself on fire someplace where the world can see it, like on the front porch or in the studio during the news, all that's going to happen is you're going to burn. Visibility is about understanding that system and that structure and knowing, hey, yeah, I can light myself on fire, but I got to do it someplace where the people that I want to watch me burn are. Because if not, I just burn up and I burn out and I've got nothing left to give, and it did absolutely nothing. And I know so many people that have burnt themselves out, in some respects completely burnt themselves up, because they didn't understand the system, the process, the whole behind what it takes to be and make and create and have true authority. True authority is an element of visibility. It's, again, going back to the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, connection. Yes, I know, for those of you that are, wondering, when is this guy ever going to get done? It's 33 minutes in. And I was doing a really good job of keeping these in between 15 and 20 minutes. I knew I was going to go long today. I wanted to. I wanted to just spend some time with you today, just celebrating who you are. And yeah, celebrating my birthday and celebrating the 59 years that I've spent in media, visible and valuable. 59 years, literally my whole entire life, visible, in front of people, on stage. Whether it was giant stages, like when I was 18 years old in Rotterdam. Rotterdam is in the Netherlands. At the Rotterdam finale, speaking in front of a group of tens of thousands of people. If you've never gotten to speak in front of a group that large, it's amazing. You got to do it. I want you to build yourself to the place where you can do that and you can have that experience. I run a syndicated radio show that goes out to, according to what the syndicator tells me, about 8 million live every week. When I do the episodes, when I do the interviews, all the interviews are pre-recorded. The interviews are just me and the person. My dog walks in the room, 90% of the time because she can't stand to close doors. But other than that, every once in a while, my mom or my brother will be banging around in the kitchen. Okay. But it's just me and them. And then when I do the mix down of it, I do it here on my computer and I've got all the systems and everything for it. But it's just me talking out into the void. And then I put it out there. And if you go to wehelpyouthrive.com, which is where all of the episodes of the show live, there are a lot of those that have no listens. You could go to the hosting place. It used to be Blog Talk Radio. They closed. Before they closed, they had bought out and they moved everybody over to Spreaker, which is the hosting place for where the digital part of it is, which has very little to do with it because, like I said, it's a syndicated radio show. It's designed to be live and be, on the radio when you're driving down the road. But when I was doing the drop-ins, the lives in those, even like right now, there are times when I've looked up in the left and I've seen as many as almost 20 people on live. And there was a moment ago when I saw it, it said 0 were on live. Right now it's saying 1. But what I know is that this will last. It will go. Visibility is about me taking this, just like I take that pre-recorded radio show and I then put it to the place where it then can be distributed out to people who are driving down the road and they tune it in on their car. I put it on my website so that, you could go and you could listen to 11 years of me doing interviews on the radio. And for the most part, most all the shows are an hour long. This time that we're spending together, I'll take all of this. I'll probably even keep the hellos to all of you that I've said hello to. So yeah, you're going to get a free shout out on syndicated radio. And I'm going to turn this into, this week's or next week's episode of the radio show, one of the two. It's one of the other reasons why I decided to go long. I need to have about 40 to 45 minutes. I can go even as much as about 55 and kind of still squeak it in because I don't have to do any commercials or any intros or any of those kind of things. If we went for another 15 or 20 minutes here now, that would be just about perfect because, then I just put it in, I put the intro, the exit, boom, done. If I need extra, I can find a split spot in the middle and I can drop a 1-minute commercial and extend it out. I don't even have to do, because I did an intro here. I know that had absolutely nothing to do with why we were talking about celebrating 59 years of visibility. But what I'm saying is me doing that has nothing to do with the visibility of it. All those happen for the most part in a box. The visibility comes by putting that where the people are. Those 8 million people are not 8 million people that are sitting here in my room. They're people that are sitting in their car, driving down the radio, tuning in. There are people on the internet who go to Spreaker or wehelpyouthrive.com, which is, my website that I just kind of house all of them. Or, the different ones that YouTube's kind of changed up their thing. So the episodes aren't on YouTube anymore. But, on and on and on and on. And that's where they hear it. That's where they are. You see, we've got to go to where the people are. If you want to be visible and valuable, you've got to be visible. And in order to be visible, you've got to be where the people are. And in order to be where the people are, you've got to first know who the people are. Because if the thought that came to my head was a little bit too radical to say that, but, if you have a message for single moms, okay, I was a single dad of 5 for almost 5 years. So I have a real place in my heart for single moms. But if you're going to, talk to single moms, the place to meet to be where they are. I'm not saying meet them, because I'm not talking about do you want to date single moms, okay? Is the groups that they're in, the support groups for single moms, the parenting groups of, how to help your son develop into a man when you're the only male influence that he's got in his life. Those kind of places. You got to go where they are, but you got to know that you're talking to the single mom. If you're talking about, when your husband does blah, 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 and blah, 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 she's going to say, no, I don't. And not identify with you and not connect. That's neither visible nor valuable, because you're not the person speaking her language. And you're not giving any value to her, because you're talking about things that mean literally nothing to her, that don't help her, not at all. We've got to spend the time to do the work, to know who we are. This is who I am at the core of me. The guy born to media. Visible for every one of the 59 years of my life. Even the times when I was completely zombified, hiding, doing everything I could. It just is the nature of who I am. As a brand new baby born, I didn't get on the phone and call the media and say, hey, you need to come over here and take some pictures. Yes, the article, the press release that went out today, I posted that because this is a message that I really wanted to share, because I wanted to celebrate myself. I did it kind of as my birthday present to me, if you will. But, most of the last 59 years have been me being visible and valuable in the place where the people were. No matter what was going on in my own life, I showed up. Whether that be in church, as a music director, worship leader, youth pastor, or whether that be in business, as often, second in command in an office. It's not about the spotlight. Yes, I was the lead singer in a Christian rock band, and I had delusions of grandeur, and I wanted to be a jukebox hero and all of that kind of stuff. I'm glad it didn't work, because it wasn't really truly who I am. Do I love singing? Yes. Was there a time when the vision for my life was to go to every amphitheater that exists in every city park, in just about every city across the whole entire United States, and set up and just start performing? Absolutely. But that also gives you a clue, because I was actually in the middle of a whole thing, and I won't get into it. But one of the things that I came to the realization is, with all of the things I've done in marketing and all the visibility things that I've done, one of the things that I never did with the band is I never made us visible or valuable. We practiced, we drilled, we rehearsed, but we never really did anything with it. Yeah, we had several really, really great concerts. Absolutely amazingly wonderful situations. But, why the band Kiss, whether you like them or not? Because Gene Simmons took his absolute talent at marketing, and he marketed that crap out of Kiss. Still is to this day. That's why, whether it be underwear or lunchboxes or visors or, whatever, there is Kiss merchandise, everything from a keychain and a pencil to, I'm sure that at one point there was probably a NASCAR car that was, that Kiss was one of the sponsors of. It's just the way that it is, because when you are visible and valuable, but you got to do the work. Now, for some of you, you're saying, hey, I did the work and I still feel unseen. That has to do with, and if you and I meet, I absolutely can identify that for you. One of the really wonderful, blessed talents that I have, don't ask me why, but is that empathic insight to be able to say, oh, yeah, I see that. A lot of it, though, also, and one of the things that I demean myself sometimes is it's a lot of experience. It's a lot of looking at a lot of marketing. Back in the day, in the early days of the internet, I actually bought and owned a domain name called spamme.com because spam, and we still get it to these days, but back then, back in the, mid to late 90s, spam was just, crazy all the time. But what I discovered was a whole marketing training from that. I took all the spam that came in and I looked at what are they doing? What are the goods? What are the bads? What are the places where they lose me on this? Where's the messaging? Where's that kind of thing? See, and I'm not saying you need to do this. Again, everything's time versus money. You can spend the next 59 years of your life learning to get yourself to the place that I am, or time versus money, or you can spend the money and you can take all the things. We have the capability to be able to get you guaranteed reviews, not because you're buying reviews, because you're buying our expertise and our time and our experience and our connections. We're going to go out on your behalf and be your sales team. We're going to sell your book for you. We're going to be your follow-up team. We're going to follow up with those people and find out, did they like the book? We're going to go further, and with the people who liked the book, we're going to get them and work with them and follow up with them to get them to write their genuine, their words review of your book. And then even to help them out, we're going to bring a grammar editor in and let them, help make sure that the commas are in the right place. And if they write a review for your book that's something like, hey, that's a great book, dude, we're going to, give them some training and teach them, hey, here's more what we can do. Here's even how you could use AI to help you take the concept of what you got out of the book and write a really, really good review that really, truly does say exactly what you want to say. Not so that AI can shine somebody on, but so that your words can come to light. That's one of the best uses for AI. And we can absolutely do that for you. In fact, if you'd like to really be visible, you need a book. It needs to be on Amazon because about 95% of all books that are sold sell off of Amazon. And you need consistently ongoing reviews from verified purchasers of your book. That means people going to Amazon, buying your book. Typically, I promote ebooks, but we can do it with your print book too. It costs you a little more because the book costs a little more. Buys your book. We do all the follow-up. We've done all our pricing. We've done it for so long that our pricing is based on results. So rather than doing an ad where you go CTR, which is click-through rate, meaning that you're paying for the number of people who click on the link in your ad. Not if they do anything with it. They may get to that next page and do nothing. Very often, they may click through the funnel but not purchase anything. And yeah, you could do retargeting and blah, 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 and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's not turning into actual people who have your stuff. You see, marketing first has to start with getting your stuff in people's hands and getting them to do it. We can do all that. And then the next piece of that is getting those people to then give genuine feedback. Because ultimately, when we go to anything, okay, and it doesn't have to be Amazon, but Amazon is a perfect example, and we want to buy something, the first thing we do is we go down and we look at the reviews. We may even look at what's the bad stuff people are saying about it. What should I avoid in this project? What is the deal? Those are the kind of things that make you visible and valuable and begin the process of you creating know, like, and trust. If you're ready to stop being the best kept secret, drop the word review in the comments, in a direct message to me, those kind of things. Doesn't matter that you weren't born in media. Doesn't matter whether you've got 59 years of experience being visible and valuable or you've never really done it right. If you have a book and it's not on the bestseller list, bestseller is a day one launch strategy. But getting the book's rankings to improve, whether it's, doing like Dawn's book, which mostly we put directly into the hands of kids because that's really what was good for her, or it be more like Danica's book that, was in, she's sold 250,000 copies of her book. And before we started doing the process with her, it was in like the 500s. We moved it almost immediately back up to top 10, which is where a book that's sold that many copies should be. We can do all that for you and help you be visible and valuable. If you want more information, if you want to go deeper with it, you can actually even go to clarityispowerful.com and watch the whole masterclass I taught on this. It's free. Yeah, if you click on the link below it, it's going to take you to a page and talk to you about the Kickstart program that I've made to allow you to be visible and valuable. But either way, I'm here for you. Because clarity isn't coming. It isn't something that's like on its way, traveling down the road, coming to you. Clarity is already here. You just got to stop hiding from it. You need to know who you are, who you're meant to serve, what they need, and of all the things that you could say to them, what is the one thing that that person needs to hear in the day called today, so that you can be visible and valuable and make an impact in their lives that only you can make. Because you are uniquely brilliant. You were created for a purpose, and the world needs you. I'm so grateful to be here with you. I hope that you're happy, safe, warm, and loved. And that until we're together again next time, I hope you have a great week.